So I'd just like to welcome everybody to another one of Dr. Mark's chats over a virtual cuppa. And I'm really lucky this afternoon to have with me Neil. Neil's the head of sales for Hornby Hobbies. And I've got a couple of questions for Neil this afternoon as we have a sip and a biscuit over this virtual cuppa. So, Neil, let's just kick off. How are you doing anyway?
I'm doing very well, thank you, Mark. This is my 10th week working from home, urging to one another, but overall it's been good. Family's all okay, and that's the main thing. And actually, I've been pretty busy this last 10 weeks because our products, particularly the heritage brands such as Airfix, Scale Electric and Hornby, have seen a really strong demand as people want to return to those traditional play activities, etc., during this lockdown period. So we've just been as busy as ever. So, you know,
Well,
strange, really.
That's really, really great news, actually. And it's good to be taking some good news when a lot of the news that we're hearing is the opposite. So how have you been working and supporting your Hornby hobby customers then during this period if things have been really booming?
Well, all the sales teams are working from home, as in fact is everybody within Hornby. Just a week prior to lockdown, actually, everybody went home. Some of the office staff with their desktops have now got them on their kitchen tables or dining room tables. So it's all quite bizarre seeing some of the backgrounds. But sales-wise, staff have all been working from home. We've had a mixed number of customers open. So I look after all the sales channels, with the main three at the moment being independent, nationals, and obviously export. What we found with nationals, for example, is that the big online retailers have stayed open and have really seen, you know, quite phenomenal demand over this period.
Yeah.
But that's been counterbalanced by our high street and bricks and mortar stores that have been closed since lockdown in the third week of March. So we're ahead of the game there, but sort of gains here are offset against losses where we've had customers that are completely closed with no sales at all. Independent sector's been slightly different. It's still our largest sales channel for our products. What we found there is probably about 20 to 25% remained open through their e-commerce facilities.
Yeah.
And that, with the old 80-20 rule, was nearly 80% of our normal business. So we had all the main players open. So from a sales team perspective, it was continual contact with them, seeing where we could help, where we could support, but not forgetting those ones that were closed as well. So where we had perhaps, private numbers, mobile numbers, the sales teams have been contacting them just to say, look, we're here to help. We know it's a difficult period for you. And in some cases, we've been putting payment plans together for them, because obviously scheduled payment days have come and gone. So we've been working with them on that, so that they're not sort of felt isolated or worried about if they've got bills to pay or meet and can't do it. So we've been conscious that, yes, we've supported the customers that are open through their e-commerce business, but on the flip side, we've been very specific in talking to and trying to look after our customers that are closed and obviously going through a worrying time.
Neil, what are there any sort of standout things that you've picked up during this period around sort of the people element and conducting business, not as we've done before, but during this period and as we move out of it?
To be honest, Mark, I think it's twofold. I think there was that initial period when we all started working from home,
Mhm.
And as we're doing now, we're doing this through Zoom, but we have Teams through Microsoft at work. And to begin with, you're quite conscious that people are at home, strange environment, work, although it's a familiar environment, it's a strange working environment.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Other distractions at home, you know, someone got families, etc. So to begin with, we were quite conscious of that, and we had quite a lot of team meetings. And what that, sorry, I lost you there. I don't know what happened there.
All right.
That is the pitfalls
Yeah.
of technology and doing it this way. But what I became conscious of after about 3 or 4 weeks that we were probably overdosing
Mm.
on Teams meetings. Whereas to begin with, we were conscious of the fact that, you know, we needed to support and be there. But what was happening, these meetings that perhaps in a normal work environment would take place over a making of a cup of tea in the kitchen at work or whatever,
Yeah, yeah.
suddenly a 5-minute normal chat was becoming an hour, and it was impacting on the day's work. And I had a number of I don't know where the time's been going. So after about 3 or 4 weeks, reviewed all the online meetings and certainly cut down a lot. But obviously now we're in that situation that, you know, with a lot of our prime customers, our best customers, that we've been having these video calls with them. And really, I think for the foreseeable future, it's going to become the norm,
Yeah.
if not the norm for a long, long time. You know, perhaps, you know, gone are the days where you jump in the car and drive all the way up to Asda at Leeds for an hour and a half meeting, then drive home.
Yeah.
These things will probably take place on video conference calls.
Yeah.
And one of the things that has really sort of hit home for me is it's completely different. It's a different way of working. It's a different skill sets required.
Mm.
We have, you know, we've had presentations made internally and made to us from customers as well. And it is a completely different skill set, and people interpret it, things slightly different ways.
Mm.
So one of the things that I will be concentrating on over the next few weeks is how we address that. Obviously, there's a training element needed there, and it's not just training. You've got to make sure that people have got the right kit,
Yeah.
you know, to work at home,
Yeah.
because the last thing you want is constant interference in making key presentations to customers.
Yeah.
So I think longer term, the way we operate will be completely different, and new skill sets are required.
And you know, from your perspective, then, Neil, you, there's been a real heavy focus on business continuity. Um, People now really starting to get into business recovery. What would you suggest to leaders out there about this next stage?
Well, at the outset, I started putting a plan together, which, you know, has evolved all the way along. So obviously, as I've already explained, that, you know, we've seen good business over this last 10 weeks, and you know, we've continued to push forward in that way. But, you know, we've had to plan for the recovery period as well, and that can bring a lot of issues for us. You know, the smaller independent retailers, will they have budget issues going
Yeah.
forward?
Yeah.
Will some of them actually reopen?
Yeah.
And a lot of these smaller ones, they're not familiar with technology. So how do we communicate with them if they're
Mm.
uncomfortable with, you know, the reps going into the stores, etc.?
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
we're looking at all that, how we can support them, etc. But, you know, these are different times, and what we found is what fits one person may not fit the next person. So there's got to be a large degree of flexibility. You know, and going back to the way people are working, I mean, particularly, you know, with some of our big national accounts, you go to a meeting, you drive to that meeting, you have the meeting, and then some of your key thinking time is that journey back, whether that's back to the office or whether it's home.
Yeah.
And what I've seen as well is if we're not careful, we'll lose that.
Mm.
And that's why I think that is very valuable, because a lot of people don't actually realise they're doing it, but they'll
Yeah.
analyse the meeting on the way home. What was good about it? What was bad? What can I do better next time? What does a customer really want? So we've got to make sure that we plan that key thinking time after we have a conference call. And that should probably be diarised, because otherwise, if you're not, and what was happening probably in the early days, we were having one video conference call, and then before you know it, you're on to the next one, and you
Mm.
haven't evaluated the last one. So
Yeah.
I think that planning in a different way will become even more important to capture and be able to have that natural thinking time as well.
That's brilliant. That's really brilliant. So, so Neil, thank you for joining Dr. Mark's virtual chat over a cuppa.
I've spoken so much, Mark. It's gone cold now.
Sunny afternoon. For me, there's some really interesting outtakes for our audience out there. One would be this whole piece around getting the communication right, which is a really good piece of insight. The other is that going forward, it's potentially going to be some blended solution, which is going to ensure that the virtual environment is here to stay. And the one thing that that comes out for me is this whole piece around thinking time. It's really important and something that hasn't really been picked up. You know, allowing ourselves to the breathing space between meetings, virtual meetings, so that we've got that chance to think. So thank you, and I look forward to catching up with you again, maybe over a coffee in a few months' time, Neil. So go well. Thank you.
Thanks, Mark. Look forward to it.